Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone's doing well. Something about flew into my face. I'm Zach, and today I'll be building a simple yet functional camper setup in the bed of this truck. Ever since I put this topper on my truck, I've wanted to build some sort of sleeping setup in it for camping. I've seen so many different setups all across YouTube, and I've been racking my brain trying to figure out which one would be the best for me. Today I finally committed to one design and decided to get it built. First, I had to get the bed of this truck a little bit cleaner. Some things I want to keep in mind. This is just a rough draft, a first version of this build, if you will, so I want to keep it simple. There needs to be hatches in the platform so that gear underneath it is accessible while the tailgate and the rear window is closed. This version won't have a drawer in it, but there does need to be enough room under the sleeping platform to store these Plano bins. And lastly, I want the whole thing to be removable so I can still use the bed of the truck to haul large items. The first thing I had to decide is how long I wanted it to be. I triple checked the length of the bed and decided that 77 inches would be a sufficient length. So I made my first cut. Then I had to notch out the end of this 2x3 to fit the contour of the bed. This piece will sit on the wheel well with this foot I'm attaching, and luckily it had some 5-inch screws left over from a deck build and used those to attach it. Next, I had to cut the top and bottom beams that will sit in the middle of the truck. I decided to cut 2 feet off on the bottom one so I could slide a bin or other gear in and out from the side. Then I cut 6 pieces at 12.5 inches and attached them to the beams. After that was put together, I test fitted it to see where it would sit. I was aiming for a 30-inch wide platform, but I had to bump it out to 31 so it would sit on a ridge and be level with the other side. Now it came time to connect the two sides. I pre-drilled through the frame and attached each slat with those 5-inch screws. I added one of these hooks to two of the feet on the wheel well side, for a purpose I'll show later. Finally, it came time to cut out the platform itself. After a quick test fit, I roughly sketched the shape of the bed onto the plywood and cut that out with the jigsaw. This will allow the plywood to be pushed up all the way against the bed of the truck without leaving any gaps. This took several tries to get right, but eventually it fit like a glove. Once I was happy with the fitment, I traced the area underneath using the frame and the slats of the box as a guide. These lines will be used later when I cut out the hatches. Then I finally got a chance to lay on it and make sure it wasn't going to crumble away. And after a quick inspection from my four-legged supervisor, I decided to call it a day. Well, it's day 2 of this camper build. Sunlight kind of ran out on me yesterday, but let me show you what was accomplished. So I got the box built and the platform on top. It's Platform is 31 inches wide, 77 inches long. It's a 6.5-foot bed, so I left 2 inches of space on the end for clearance for the tailgate. And the box is just tall enough so these Plano bins can fit underneath it. Got these hooks drilled in to 2 of the legs on the box. This one, then one on the back. That way the whole sleeping platform can be tied down to the bed of the truck with these turnbuckles. That'll prevent any shifting around while driving. So the plan for today, to finish this thing up, I've got to cut out the hatches. I'm gonna have one down here and then one up top near the cab so I can access the gear underneath it while the tailgate and the window's closed. Then got to get it sanded. That should be good to go. All right, let's get to it. I decided to add some support blocks for the hatches. The 1/2-inch thick plywood I used for the platform wasn't going to retain its strength once I cut it up, so I found some use for the scrap wood I made. Again, I'm pre-drilling to avoid splitting the wood, and I'm using those 5-inch screws to attach them. Now came time to prep for cutting the hatches out. I used a scrap piece of 2x3 to lay beside the lines I traced out yesterday, and with the scrap piece simulating the frame, I made marks on the plywood half the width of it. I did this so when the hatches were cut out, all the edges of the plywood would be resting on part of the frame. After I made these marks, I connected them with a level to draw a straight line, and then did my best to cut straight with the jigsaw. Then I put the box and what was left of the platform back in the truck to line everything up. Making sure the fitment was correct, I started to screw it together. Now it was time to get it all sanded. I did my best to round off all the corners and hit the edges real well. Off camera, I trimmed a 1/4 inch off all sides of the hatches to ensure ample clearance between them and the platform for opening and closing. After those were sanded, it was time for another test fit. I also threw these hinges in to make sure they'd fit as well. Once I was satisfied with everything, I made a mark on the top of each hatch to drill a hole so I'd have a way to open them. And I added these tie-down points to the platform, that way I could strap gear to them. Well, this is the build for now. Again, this is just a simple version to give me an idea of what I really need out of a setup like this. I can always change it or add on in the future. And if you want to see it in action and hear my thoughts on it, stay tuned in for my next video because I just spent 4 nights camping with it. That's it for this one, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.